We are very happy to have with us today at our studio Dr. Shirpa Vora. She is the course coordinator of the psychology department of St. Xavier's College, Mapusa. Psychology has always been a very interesting subject, and many people wonder the difference between psychology and psychiatry. Today we have an expert who's going to tell us the difference, tell us a lot more what the psychology is all about, why students go for psychology, what they do with their psychology, and then we will get to know whether you, if you're a student, want to take up psychology in St. Xavier's College, Mapusa. Thank you very much, Dr. Bora. Thank you for coming. Now, let us go straight to the point. We know that St. Xavier's College is topping as far as psychology is concerned in Goa. So, we are very happy to have you here and tell our viewers, particularly our students in the 11th and 12th, whether they should take up psychology as one of their career options. So, can you tell us what psychology actually teaches a student?
Firstly, thank you for having me here, and it's a pleasure. Psychology as a subject deals with understanding people and why they behave the way they do. What are the various factors as to what makes a person who he is, and if anything is wrong or troubling them, what are the interventions or what treatments would be available. So, psychology is all about understanding people in totality. And I think any student who is passionate about the field and who wants to understand people, I think this is a very good career option.
Tell me, how come St. Xavier's got such a high reputation in psychology? I mean, it is well known throughout Goa that if you want to do psychology, straight away they say, go to St. Xavier's.
Thank you. I think it's an honor and a privilege when you say that, and especially there are many colleges which offer that. So having to hear this, I think it makes us proud, and especially as an alumni, I feel very fortunate to be a part of this college. The credit, I think, would go down to, I think, the founding members, because unless a foundation is built strong and thorough, nothing rises very high. So I think all the principals of the college who've been investing their time and effort and dedicated service, I think credit goes to them. Secondly, to the heads of the department who've been, through the time the undergraduate department has been there. It's for so long that I can't even date back. Okay. But to give you an idea, the current faculties have also been the alumnus of the department, undergraduate department. So the history dates back. So
now you say you yourself are an alumni of St. Xavier's College.
Level, yes.
Was that your intention to do teaching right from the start?
No, I was a little undecided because for me, the minute I knew that psychology is about people, and I just knew I wanted to do it. So as I started out, everything kind of interested me. Oh, it's research also, it's teaching also, and it's private practice also, and can I do everything together? Okay. I think once masters happened and I got an opportunity to do psychological testing for a career institute. So once that happened, then it was all about answering exams and net set. So I think it was destiny chose, because net set got cleared, and then one of the teachers was on leave, so got into teaching, and then it just rolled by.
All right, so, okay. Now, you are a doctor. Where did you do your doctors?
I did my PhD at SNDT University, Bombay.
All right, okay.
And I did my master's there too.
All right, okay. That time they didn't have masters in.
They had, but it was something that I had decided that if it's for my undergraduate, it's going to be in Xavier's, and PG.
Okay, now for the benefit of the student who wants to take up psychology. Correct. Okay, do you have an entrance test for the student to be selected?
At the 11th and 12th, after they finish their 12th, they get into FYSYTY, which is a degree program. So it's the normal no entrance exam as such. Till about last year for the PG postgraduate exam, there was no entrance. The admission was based on your percentage in merit. However, we've just received a circular from the Goa University saying that next year would be entrance exams. So we are awaiting further details and clarity on that.
All right. So as of now, if you want to do the undergraduate program in St. Xavier's, it only depends on your percentage.
Yes.
And what is the cutoff percentage now?
I think the cutoff varies from year to year.
What was it in the last year? Say about 60%?
Yes.
Around 60%?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
But one thing is that the seats for the 6 units are, there is a lot of demand for it. So that's when
Well, I'm not surprised.
I would say that, if you're really interested in passionate, study and give it your all.
Okay. Now, it's a 3-year program, and how many
Undergrad.
seats do you have?
The undergraduate does not have a seat specification as far as I'm aware of, because they take their, it's the normal
Yeah.
class quota. But yes, I think this year there are about
50, 60?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, 50,
around
60,
60
definitely,
students.
definitely,
So, if
definitely.
you're over 60, there's a very good chance you'll get a seat.
Yes, yes.
All right.
I mean, I think, and not only for psychology, I would take this thing for tell students that if you're really interested in any field, any career, then make sure that you've got your academic criteria as an entry point.
So there you heard it. If you don't have 60%, St. Xavier's is not for you. Be careful. So work hard at the 11th and 12th. Then you just might make it. Yeah. Okay. Tell me, this is not funded by the university. So what are the
The
fees?
postgraduate department
Yeah.
is the undergraduate is funded by the college. I
Okay.
mean, as by the government. The postgraduate is an affiliated self-finance department
Okay.
affiliated to the Goa University.
So what is the
So the
fee?
fees would be as per the university guidelines, which come in every year
Right,
at the
okay.
at the time of admission.
And at the master's level?
That is at the master's level. The undergraduate is a funded program.
So what was it last year for?
The master's was 45,000 per year.
For a 2-year program. Okay, all right. If these youngsters, having done their masters, then want to go for, like you do their PhD, what is the normal duration of that program, and where would you recommend that they go?
See, I think after your master's, the scope is to either do an MPhil or a PhD. For both MPhil and PhD, there are separate entrance tests required. MPhil is a 2-year program, and I would recommend students that if you're keen on MPhil, you would have to do it from an RCI certified university for an MPhil program. If you're interested in research, you need not do an MPhil or and a PhD. You can go directly into a PhD, for which you will have to answer the PhD entrance test. Different universities will have their own entrance tests, and a PhD would take anywhere from 3, 4 to 5 years. I think 3 to 5 years is a decent time.
Now, there are various fields in psychology. Can you, for the benefit of our students who are thinking of psychology, tell us a little bit more about which are the varieties and what would you recommend for what type of brain set or mindset?
Currently, or how would I say, there are basic fields which are clinical psychology, counseling psychology, and human resource development. However, because psychology is all about applying your learnings in varied settings, nowadays we're even having varied branches like sports psychology, cognitive psychology, we're looking at personal psychology. So there is a lot of diversification that's happening. There's a lot of integrating of psychology into mass media and web designing fields in a totally applied format. But we still looking at the traditional format. There's clinical psychology, which deals with individuals who've got serious issues with relationship issues, adjustment issues, where the nature of the disorder has impacted the functioning of their day-to-day life. In the sense, their role, responsibilities at the workplace, personal lives, academic, social, work front, they get impacted because of the disorder. Something like we say somebody is depressed. Now, when we say somebody is depressed, it could be a normal person who's working normal again, because we all, look at normal as a tag today. But anybody who's feeling sad, we tend to say, oh, I'm depressed today. But clinical psychology, when we say we deal with depression, we're dealing with people who for about, say, 2 weeks at a stretch have been feeling completely lack of energy, no either loss of appetite, increased appetite, no energy to live, somebody who is probably suicidal in its thoughts. So that's the severity that we're dealing with when we deal with clinical psychology students.
Just to elaborate on that.
Clinical psychology.
On the clinical psychology
yes.
front, I just want a clarification,
Okay.
please. See, there are 2 types of situations in Goa particularly. Number 1 is the suicide problem, particularly among our youth students. And 2 is there are a lot of families conflicts.
Correct.
Can you elaborate on why would a student want to commit suicide? What is the psychological and what is the cure for that problem?
See, I think sadly there is no cure like how we have for our physical illnesses, that it's not like a cold or a fever that you give a tablet and you're fine. So when we're looking at suicide prevention as a whole, I think we as an entire system need to go through a little change. one of the important things which as society what we can do is being tolerant. And when it comes to about why people would want to even think is probably when they feel that they're out of any hope that my situation would get better. So when there is extreme hopelessness or a perception of lack of support, that I am all alone and nothing can be done and this is the end of it all, that's when probably there is this requirement of a tragic
Would
step.
you blame it on society, or would you blame it on the
I think
parents, or would you blame
it's
it
very
on?
difficult to blame somebody because why we also tend to criminalize suicide. It's actually a cry for help. It's also a cry that probably governments today need to work at equal attention to mental health. We need to provide mental health budgetary allocations, which we don't hear much. We are concerned with Swachh Bharat and other things which are very important. We need to do all of that. Physical health and social health, right to basic education. So while we're doing all of these in the right steps, I think the next level we need to be focusing on mental health at a systemic level, at a macro level within families. I think we got to be more tolerant. We as parents and as teachers or as stakeholders of society, we need to be a we need to be tolerant towards the issues which people have. And as individuals, I think we need to understand that the problem is not the end of the world. I mean, if you have a problem, talk to somebody. Okay, you cannot talk to parents, talk to a teacher. You can't talk to a teacher. Seek professional help. Today, the scene in mental health scene in Goa is a lot different. It's progressing. We have counselors, we have psychiatrists. So talk to people. Take help of religious associations because at some point, everything will combine as a support system.
So there you have it, students and young families. If you feel depressed or you feel that something is not going right, don't feel shy of the word psychology. Feel strong enough to go to a psychologist, practicing psychologist, and talk to them. Find out how you can improve your situation. Nothing is impossible ultimately. So even if you're a student, if your parents are troubling you and pushing you to a certain percentage level, and you can't do it, and you can't do it, talk to a psychologist. Take your parents along with you to a psychologist. Maybe that way you will not only be able to help yourself, but make the parents understand what is troubling you and why you are being pushed beyond their expectations. Thank you very much for that. That's a very good tip. Now,
In
let's
fact,
go to,
just to add on to
yeah,
that, sir,
please.
there are a
Yeah.
lot of schools now which have also, psychology counselors are employed. I'm aware that the Goa government has started employing school counselors. DSC is also having school counselors in their different schools. So there is a start that has begun. And I would just say that if just like you have a cold or a bruise and you want to see a doctor, so if you're not feeling fine and if you feel that there is an upset which you cannot handle, it's okay, rest if you must, but don't quit. So meet somebody.
One of the things that I have observed in schools, that yes, there are counselors, I totally agree with you, but there is a lot of attention being paid to this problem. But there's another area that is not being given enough focus, in my opinion, and that is careers.
Correct.
Because what's happening is parents tend to have a mindset that my child has to be an engineer or a doctor or
Yes,
something like that.
very much.
And the child is then confused because he or she doesn't like maths or science or whatever. And parents keep pushing. So depression follows and all that
Very,
thing follows.
yes.
So
It's sad. It's
why is
sad.
it that counselors do not, or the school doesn't ask the counselors to help them in the
See,
career side?
it is, I'm sure that it's being done at small levels, but I think what needs to be done is we need to tackle this issue at a different level because as a counselor, you'd be meeting at a one-to-one level or one-to-many. While we're talking to students, it's good. It's a good start. But maybe if schools start having parent-teacher workshops for the parents itself, making them understand different career options, the impact of or the pressure, the burden which parental expectations could play havoc with children. So I think targeting parents would be
A
a
better option.
better option
Okay.
because I mean that's how
Yeah, that's right.
it
Okay.
flows.
Okay.
One thing good also with schools, see, when you're talking about careers, I think there are three, four issues which happen at schools. First is we're dealing with normal individuals. Again, normal so that, we
Yeah, that's
understand
right.
what the term is. But people who are, in regular mainstream, So then their focus is going to be about getting better grades, doing better, performing to their potential with career options. Among these, there would be individuals who can perform well or who have the potential, but because of some personal issues or whether it's family or whether it's social or anything personal, they're not able to perform. So which they would need counseling. And besides these, there would also be special schools and resource rooms for individuals who are not intellectually on par with the mainstream,
That's right.
but who would require a special attention.
What about this aptitude testing?
Aptitude, like what is aptitude testing?
Yeah, no, not what is as much as
Aptitude testing is basically a test and a measure of your potentials
exactly.
and how well individuals could perform or given the training where you can go through. Again, it's a very, I wouldn't say it is important because it would give an idea as to what are the potential areas that I have, what are my strengths and weaknesses, and also the what do you call how could I improve on each of these.
So, at the master's level, do you have a specialization in aptitude testing?
No, we have a paper called as psychological testing. So
Okay.
wherein we teach them not only aptitude testing but other tests like intelligence testing, personality testing, projective
Okay.
testing. So anything that would be required for the students to get into the workplace as psychologists and do testing, whether it's intelligence, ability, aptitude. So that's the training that they get at the master's level.
And accuracy wise, how good are they?
Accuracy would come at two levels. Firstly, if you're taking a good test, and when I say a good test, a lot of these psychological tests, or most of them, undergo a rigorous procedure. So if you've selected the right test, there's something called as a standardization, a reliability, validity. So that is the psychologist's concern. So when we teach them in their syllabus, we've taught them that, which is a good test or how to identify a good test. Having selected a good test and having administered the good test, the accuracy of that test would depend on the honesty of the responses of the child.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if the
Yes,
child,
so because it's again, it's not like we have a microscope or a stethoscope where you can actually measure,
right,
and
okay.
it's all on what the.
Now tell me, at the master's level, do you all have an internship program?
Yes, we do. We have one 1 month internship, graded internship after during the holidays after the first year, and a second internship, which is again a 1 month internship after the second year.
And where are these internships conducted?
These students have been given the choice to do the internship at the place of their interest, so that could also give them a focus from their career perspective. Our students get into hospitals, private practitioners, they get into schools, NGOs, counseling settings. So
and it is not a problem.
So far it's been going smooth, not a problem. It's also, in fact, it works very well for the students because after the first year, when they've done their theory and they go back into the field, they come back sensitized with the situations which are out. There is a certain reality hits you wherein you realize the problems people face, the struggles of people, and there is somewhere a renewed passion of getting back and giving back.
Now, one of the reasons St. Xavier's has become so popular as far as psychology is concerned is there are success stories. Can you tell us at least one or two, both one abroad and one in India, really making your institution so proud of it?
Firstly, I think it starts with the head of our institute. He's an alumnus of the department.
Father Geronimo.
Father Jerome, yes, Father Geronimo is an alumni. Along with him, we have two of our current faculties who are also alumnus of the department. We have our our earlier course coordinator, who is now a professor at IGNOU Delhi. We have a couple, in fact, all of our students do us proud, but if I'm trying to recollect, many of them have pursued their PhDs, a lot of them are into schools. In fact, at one point, when we look at the teachers and the young students, oh, you're a Xavierite, and oh, you've done your master's here. So sometimes, when we have a collegiate events, it's more like a reunion. Many of them are at NGOs. A couple of them have done their MPhil and they've started private practice. There was many of them are also working abroad. I know one of them who's doing she's into special education in London. One student particularly would bring to light is when she came in, she was a non-psychology student, but she was very, very passionate to get into it. After her master, she went back to her native place and, did a few things. But the passion took her, and she's gone to US and she's done further therapy training in rational emotive behavior therapy, and she's practicing there.
Oh, wow.
So, and I mean, it's again 11 years, not even 11 years, 2001, 18 years. So the list is long. There are a lot of them who are at Sanjay School and different special
That's right,
education
yeah.
schools. So who are, reaching out. So the list is big, and I think
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
we need to get back to each one and,
Dr. Shilpa, thank you very much. You've been so forthcoming. It's wonderful to hear you
thank you.
so passionate about your own field. One last question.
Yes, sure.
One last question. If I have to tell a student, go for psychology, what is the best tip you can give him?
Why should he be pursuing
why should he be pursuing
psychology? Your passion
Okay.
for understanding people.
All right.
And with it, developing, I mean, it won't happen immediately, but through your course of study, developing a keen sense of observation and understanding the nitty-gritties of human behavior, the different facets which influence them, and connecting how different aspects of her life make the person who he or she is. So while passion is something which, passion and hard work is important in every field, for psychology, I think the acute sensitivity to understand the different things, what would be.
So there you have it. You heard the expert. A person who really, really wants to know people better, understand people better, have the patience to talk to people better, psychology is the field, and you will not be disappointed. So think about it very carefully, and if you need further advice, please go to Dr. Shirpa at St. Xavier's College, and she'll be happy to tell you more. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, and it's been a pleasure, and wishing all of you all the best. And for students of psychology, always welcome. This is your field, and it's something that I always tell, that as long as there'll be people, there will be problems. So we always have scope. It's just that we got to be up there, out there.
Yeah, very good, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
So we're in conversation with Shaman Khan from St. Xavier's College, and she's here to tell us about the psychology course that she's doing there. So Shaman, which year of psychology are you studying in Xavier's right now?
Firstly, thank you, Jessica, for having me here. I'm in my second year of Masters in Psychology. I'm specializing in clinical psychology. So that's my
Field.
Yeah.
Great. Seems very smart.
thank you.
11th and 12th, that's, the time where we decide where we want to go.
Yes.
How did you get into this field?
Okay, so 11th and 12th, a teenager's mind, how it works. So it was more about curiosity, what psychology is about, and I did my arts. So I was more like, psychology, it reads people's minds, and you get to know what people are thinking, and it's all voodoo stuff. So it was always that, let's learn what psychology is about. Of course, it's not that you can't look at people and read their minds, that's foolish. But it was always that curiosity that led me to study psychology, and then it made me very passionate about it. It was that time that I learned.
All right.
Okay.
So 11th and 12th gave you the basis to form at it. Then you chose, I believe, your graduation, your bachelor's in psychology in the same field.
Yes.
Can any student doing any other field, that's commerce or science, move towards psychology?
Of course, yes. Yes, they can. Even science, during like your 11th and 12th, you can opt for psychology.
As a subject?
Subject, yes.
Oh, lovely. When you were doing your bachelor's and psychology, what was the course offering you?
It was basically in the graduation. In third year, you get 6 unit psychology, where you learn everything, like in detail, inside out about psychology. But in the first year and the second year, you have been given a little, very little bit of psychology. Where in the first year you are given of information about what basic psychology is, an introduction to psychology. Then the next semester is about child psychology, what child psychology is all about. So they are giving low doses in the first year.
I like when you say low doses.
Okay. So the first year and the second year is a low dose. In the third year, it's like a complete inside-out picture of what psychology is. So you are taught about what experimental psychology is, what are the ethics you need to imbibe in you to be a good psychology student, and then how you get into research with psychology, and what abnormal psychology is, criminal psychology is. So it's in your TY, in the 6 unit paper, that you learn what exactly psychology is.
So the high dose begins. And then what happens in the master's?
Masters, it's like a clearer picture, and you get to learn theories and it just changes you. It just doesn't prepare you for the outside world, but it personally changes your entire personality of looking. At graduation level, it's more about, understanding others, and on the post graduation level, it's like understanding yourself. It's understanding what you feel, and it just makes you self aware. And the subjects are very beautiful, so even if you're not doing anything after your post graduation, it's just
You get a redefined vision of everything
yes.
else. You mentioned right at the beginning of the interview that you're doing clinical psychology.
Yes.
Tell us more about your specialization.
Okay, clinical psychology it deals with pathology and people with mental disorders.
Correct.
And disability. So it's actually people have a stigma with clinical psychology that don't opt for it. It's very negative and it's going to get to you. It's going to affect you. But I feel personally that there's nothing more beautiful than clinical psychology. I've worked with people who have schizophrenia and mental disorders, and they love you, and you cannot be loved more than anybody, like more than them. So it's a it's a more positive environment than what is portrayed outside.
Correct.
Like lunatics running here and there. It's not like that.
Okay.
It's just beyond all that.
All right. So there's a lot of help that you're giving to the
They're
society.
giving you.
They're giving you. It's the other
Yes,
way around.
yes.
All right. For students that want to do psychology
Yes.
after their 10th standard or after their 12th standard, what would you suggest them and say to them?
If you have enough of empathy, patience, and passion, which is very important. A person who is not very passionate about people, is not patient enough to listen, and is not patient enough to understand and reciprocate good behavior, and then you're not welcome to psychology. I'm just being very blunt, because we require people who are very sensitive. And for psychology, for you to get from psychology and to give psychology to others, you need to be a very patient and an empathetic person.
Can that be learned over a span of years? Is it possible
Of course,
to?
yes.
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 There's hope.
Is it?
There's hope.
Yes.
There's hope. Moving on from that, when one finishes, let's say, the masters, what first of all are your plans after your masters in psychology?
I want to get into research, like for the first 2-3 years, either MPhil or PhD, and then get into the field. So
Alright.
I get more experience and exposure.
Correct. After a student has finished psychology masters, has finished post graduation rather,
Yeah.
and wants to work,
Yes.
is that an option? And what are the jobs available?
Okay. Psychology is, I believe, the only field that is so diverse that you can get into anything. You can get into teaching, you can get into counseling, you can get into the corporate sector, you can get into social work, you can get into so many things. So it's diverse. It gives you immense opportunity to do what you want. You can privately work. So there's a lot of opportunity. You just have to go out there, or you can actually create a job for yourself. You can think out of the box and get a job for yourself. I mean,
All
plan
right, so
something.
there's a lot of employment available.
Yes.
And finally, I think the question that I want to ask is, we're looking at psychology as a career option that is beyond the dimension of just sitting down and studying.
Yes.
It is a lot of action involved.
Yes.
For students aspiring to go towards psychology, what are the things that they can do now? Say you're in the 8th or 9th or 10th, you're just kind of getting there and you have your normal curriculum. What would you suggest they do to get that psychology tinge?
Read a lot of books. See, psychology is a subject that keeps on changing. There's a lot of update coming up. So the most important thing that a person can do to get into psychology, and you need to keep yourself updated. Read a lot. Read the recent research that is coming up, the recent studies that have been done.
Correct. So
yeah.
that's about, okay. Yeah. And the final thing that I think most youngsters want to know, considering you're from St. Xavier's and everybody was like, yay, St. Xavier's. What's your take? You've been there, I think, this is going to be your 5 years now. For students who want to apply, as a college,
yes,
what would the glass door be? How does St. Xavier's feel?
St. Xavier's is actually a life-changing experience for anybody who enters there. So there's nothing, it looks like it's very difficult to get in. It's not. So
okay.
Yeah, but
it's easy to get in. It's
easy to get in. And once you get in, I promise you and I assure you, you're going to become a different person altogether. So there's a lot of scope for you to change and for you to grow in the field
Lovely.
and with the department.
Perfect. So, psychology at St. Xavier's, and some amazing information from you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
and
you
I
for calling me.
think we'll see you after a couple of years, and I'll probably try and get an autograph. We'll do something like that. Right? Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you back with Slingshot.